All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Sunday Inspiration, Wellness and Faith with Wherry. I hope that you all are having a great day today and that you're enjoying the day no matter where you are. So today we are going to be talking about take the risk. Take the risk. And I want to actually use the story of the Israelites actually crossing or standing before the Red Sea in order to talk about this whole topic of risking it, right? And taking a risk. So I'm not going to read the entire story of the Israelites crossing the Red Sea. It's a little lengthy, but you can find the full story in Exodus chapter 14. But what I want to do is just point out two verses and then I'll summarize the story and bring out the points about this whole example or demonstration we have of the Israelites actually taking a risk. So this is Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. And so it says that Moses said unto the people, "Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians who you see today, you will not see them again no more. The Lord will fight for you, and you will hold your peace." So again, this is Exodus chapter 14. Those are just verses 13 and 14. So what happens before this is that you had the Israelites. They were actually enslaved in Egypt by the Egyptians for like 400 years. And so, then Moses is born. And I'm really skipping a whole lot of details, but trying to fast forward to today. But Moses is born. He grows up actually in Pharaoh's household. And he is now the one that God actually ordains to free the people of Israel from enslavement. And so, Moses is a little like skeptical about doing it because he's like me, are you sure I'm the one that you want to use? I don't know if I can do this. God is like, yes, I chose you. I got you, right? So long story short, he goes to Pharaoh, and he pleads with him to let the people go. Pharaoh refuses, which, makes sense from his point of view because it's like, listen, I got free labor. I have people building my kingdom. Why in the world would I let them go and free them? And so 10 times, or each time that Pharaoh went to him, God ends up actually sending 10 plagues over Egypt. And so the last plague that actually is brought about is that the firstborn of every family in Egypt then dies. And Pharaoh had a son. And so his son actually is part of that whole plague. And so after that, Pharaoh's like, you know what, I'm good. I'm tired of us suffering, going through all this extra, just get out and just leave. And so the Israelites now leave. And even as they're leaving, the Israelites also gives them gifts. So like they get gold and all other type of stuff to take with them. Like, we just want y'all gone. So now the Israelites, they're traveling from Egypt to where they were enslaved to Canaan, which is the promised land that God sends them. And so that's the first example we see of them even taking a risk, is that them going to the land of Canaan, they had never been there before. They had never gone to this place. And so here it is that Egypt was familiar, even though Egypt was a hard place, even though they were enslaved, it was familiar. They knew the land. They knew what was going to happen day in, day out. And so they're in this wilderness point. And so even when it comes to our own lives, where we are now prompted by God to take a risk, it's not going to be easy. It's going to stretch us past our comfort zone. And it's going to require us to actually walk in faith when it comes to trusting what God has spoken to us. And so you see, the Israelites, they're leaving, and so they get to the Red Sea. And so at the Red Sea, now they're forced with, okay, do we just try to get into the sea and cross over, which we're going to drown, or do we try to turn back? But if we turn back, now the Egyptians are coming after us, because even though Pharaoh had let the people go, he actually then changed his mind like halfway through it, and he decides to pursue the Israelites with his army. And with Pharaoh coming with his army, they had horses and chariots, and they were ready for battle. Like, they were equipped. With the Israelites, because they were slaves, they didn't have all of that equipment. They weren't prepared for war. They weren't prepared for battle. And so with the Israelites now being literally between like, either I'm gonna die in the river or I'm gonna die by the hands of the army of Pharaoh, they now get scared and like, oh my gosh, like, Moses, this is your fault. Like, why would you bring us out here like this? But here's the thing, is that what God had already spoken to them did not change, because now that they were up against against an obstacle. And so even in our own lives, when God speaks to us and he's speaking us to take the leap, to take a risk, to do something we've never done before, that doesn't mean that there won't be barriers, there won't be obstacles, there won't be things that we will have to overcome that we haven't had to overcome before. But just because you encounter a barrier or you encounter a challenge, that does not mean that God's word to you to take the risk now becomes void. And so, in this place, now where they're standing before the Red Sea, God actually ends up doing the miraculous for them. But even with them doing the miraculous, it still took another level of faith. Because what happens is that God parts the Red Sea. And in parting the Red Sea, if you can imagine that, so if you're in front of a whole huge sea, first of all, it's really deep. You also know that there's all different type of creatures and animals that live like in the sea. And so to now see the sea to part into two and now to walk on dry land, even though you see this miracle unfolding, it still is a risk to walk out from there, because it's like, okay, is the water, because the water stood up as two walls, right? And so even with the water standing up, it's that they have to now take the risk and cross over and believe that the miracle is really happening, that they're going to be able to cross over safely. And lo and behold, all the children of Israel, like, they're able to do that. But then Pharaoh and his army, they're still pursuing them, like, okay, nah, y'all not about to get away. And so they continue to go after them. And what's so ironic is that what was a miracle for the children of Israel ended up being devastation for the Pharaoh or for the Egyptian army, because they actually ended up drowning in the sea. And so what looks like a risk in your life, what looks like destruction, is really just God giving you an opportunity to be able to trust him more and to see his miraculous power, and to know that you can depend on him no matter what, that you can trust his word, and that he will never leave you or forsake you, and to know that he will only lead you into life and victory, into freedom. And so I really encourage everyone watching here today to take the risk, whatever the risk is that God has been speaking to you about, whether it's writing the book, whether it's telling your testimony or starting a business, whether it's loving again, whether it's leaving a toxic relationship that is not serving you well and that God did not ordain for you to be in anyway. Whatever God is speaking to you, take the risk, because in taking the risk, it really is paving the place for you to walk into what God has ordained for you, and for you to have experiences that you would have never had before, staying in your place of comfort. And so take the leap, take the risk, trust God, and know that he is going to move on your behalf. So that is our Wellness and Faith for today. We're going to check the comments just to see if we have any questions or comments, as I do just some quick announcements as far as with the group. So if you have a question, for those of you who are watching live, you can drop those right here in the chat. And so for Mondays, we know that Michelle is live here in the Self-Care for Black Girl groups on Monday evenings for Motivational Mondays. We have Sasha, who comes in on Tuesdays with Fitness Tuesday. On Wednesday, Sharia is live here in the group to talk about various emotional wellness topics. On Thursday, Sharia and I then go live, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish. We're live here in the group for Emotional Health Thursdays. And then Sasha is in a group later on Thursday evenings for yoga. And then on Fridays, we have something cooking up for y'all, so y'all be able to see it within the next few weeks. And then on Saturdays, Sharia and I are live in a group for Small Business Saturday. So there is ways for you to be able to connect with us multiple times throughout the week with the group. But at this time, I don't see any questions or anything from anyone, so we're going to go ahead and close out our Sunday inspiration. But again, just want to encourage everyone to take the risk. So take care. Have an awesome day. Have an amazing week. And I will see you all later on. All right, bye.